This Soviet Japan deck is a combo value deck. It's more successful as a tournament deck than it is on ladder. It relies on cards which damage your own HQ, like Red Dawn, Bloody Sickle, Yak 7, and Winter Warfare. Each time one of these cards damages the player's HQ, the deployment cost of 34th Guards is reduced by 2, and the 456th Rifle Regiment receives +1/+1 and Guard. This gives it resilience against aggro decks. Self-Damage's Snowball combo has the potential to overrun just about every deck with early giant infantry units. However, it is weak against control, as hard removal can deal with most of these units pretty immediately. Soviet Italian Control is one of the strongest decks against any aggro deck. Compared to other meta decks, this list provides the most guard units and raw HP for your HQ. To achieve this, you sacrifice your units as guards against the hordes of attacking opponents, and your 329th Engineer Battalion provides your HQ with +2 HP every time a friendly unit dies. Not only does this list have very capable guards like Mobile Defense, 2 3/2 guards for 1 turn, or BP-43 Armored Train, a 3/7 with heavy armor and spawning a 1/1 infantry unit each turn. The deck list also contains some of the most valuable cards in the game, like Red Banner with Partisans and 272nd Guards. Soviet Control is strongest against aggro, however, you'll have a tough time against ramp combined with larger threats. German Control with Italy Ally is one of the strongest and flexible control decks, being successful in both ladder and tournaments. Cards like Sudden Strike, Flampanzer, Bologna Regiment, and Root Out are able to stop just about any aggro deck you may face. Lion for a Day and Admiral Hipper help players deal with dangerous threats in the mid-game, while Leopold and King Tiger are dominant in the late game. German Control is very flexible overall, with good all-around capabilities. However, against highly specialized decks, you may not find the right card at the right time. RNG withdrawing is a pretty big factor with Germany Control. This deck was introduced to the competitive ladder around the end of 2020, stomping pretty much every other list around that time. It has seen quite a lot of nerfs since then. It's usually balanced between Tier 2 and Tier 3. Occupying the front line is a vital objective since the entire game plan builds and revolves around it. The deck includes a lot of powerful cards that require the player to have the front line, but provide game-winning value in return. It's as they say, the more the merrier. Frontline plus support line has space for a total of 9 units. Buffing the whole board with We Can Do It seals the deal about 95% of the time. However, holding the front line is non-negotiable. It's very hard to come back and fight into an occupied front line, especially against aggro decks, while also being weak against AoE like carpet bombing, root out, or supply shortage, especially before the We Can Do It has been played. Japanese aggro with Germany as the ally is commonly known as the classic aggro deck in Cards. Successful since the beginning of Cards, this is probably the most recommended deck for beginners. This deck is relatively cheap to craft and allows for fast matches. It is also one of the biggest advantages in comparison to control decks. Since it's a fast deck, it allows players to play 2 to 4 times more matches in the same amount of time, making it one of the most efficient decks to grind ladder with. One of the easiest decks to pick up and master, and is also omnipresent during Cards esports events, delivering good results. It's very strong against slow ramp-like decks, decks without healing, and decks without multiple AoE removal. However, Jaggro is weak against decks with multiple guard units, multiple AoE removals, and large amounts of healing. Brit Air was one of the first massive overpowered decks in Cards. After several nerfs and changes to key cards, this deck has lived through a lot. However, it's still a top performer, being used by many pro players up to this day. Italy is done as the favorite ally after the nerf to the Italian Fiat CR42. Now the deck features Japan ally with more bombers to combo with the Empire Strikes and the Type 94 TK to add more hard removal with surprise attack. The game plan revolves around quickly deploying 2 to 3 1-credit planes and buffing them with close air support. Close air support can be applied to a single British aircraft and will buff its adjacent units along with it, making it hard to deal with for your opponent. This deck has a lot of tempo and damage potential. It's very consistent overall and able to take on almost any other deck. However, Brit Air fully relies on, well, air. It is extremely prone to orders that damage players' support line and also anti-air tech cards. Special thanks to Darkness and Team Ammo for compiling this month's meta report. You can find the deck codes to all the lists highlighted in the video description below. Let us know what decks you're playing and dominating the ladder with in the comments.